right. We made it. Yeah. Okay. Sunday, let's just chat, right? Around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Every Sunday, God willing. Okay, so let those notifications go out. In the meantime, let me go ahead and check. Check. You know how we go. Oh, goodness. I'm going to tell y'all, it has been wow. Like, just a wow season again. I mean, I love how God wows us. I mean, when He revealed the things that He reveals, and we're like, yo, that makes sense. Now I understand why going through all that. It's crazy too. But let me tell you, when He does, we don't ignore it. We don't ignore it. And so when I was on that brief business trip there, I was like, well, I knew part of the reason why we moved it up. Like I said, we were planning on that at a later date, but the circumstances occurred that caused me to go, you know what? Let's move it up. And so we did. And not only did I get reminded about some things that occur when our body, right, when our body is not getting adequate oxygen to certain places that it needs to be at higher altitude. I had forgotten about that. Because when I used to drive truck, I had a little bit of an issue struggling with that when we would go over what's called Loveland Pass there in the state of Colorado, 11,000 feet up. I would tell you that trying to haul 40,000 pounds in a big rig up that hill was no joke. Okay, no joke. And not only that, but the higher elevation, my body really didn't like it. But see, that they say that, because I was always borderline anemic at the time. So that would explain the body's challenge with getting oxygen at higher altitude. And so I was reminded of that. And that was just one thing. And then I said, okay, so this business trip, I said, well, when he said, had some neighbors check in who were loud, very, very much coughing a lot. And I said, I'm not going to stay here another night with that. I'm not going to have that distraction. I don't need to. I can go home now. But I was like, but there was one more thing before we did that. I said, okay, Heavenly Father. I said, what else was it? Because I think we've covered several revelations. We've discovered some additional bruising that, we know we can self-care to now. And I'm like, okay. And so we've got all that. I said, so what else? And he said, mindset reset. I said, oh, because when I used to take business trips, the way I used to do things, he said, yeah. He said, I got you remembering how you used to do things. You see how over the last couple of days you stayed real busy, even though you were doing some self-care and some other things. So you stayed real busy, right? So that's your mindset shift. He said, this was a business trip reset. I said, oh my gosh, yes it is. It's reset season. As part of the rejuvenation. Rest and relax and all of that, and to get your mind right and everything else. I said, oh my gosh, all part of that renewing of the mind. But yet also God, like He tells us, He's going to bring things to our remembrance. God is that just in time God. He's going to bring it to our remembrance just in time, just when we need it. Y'all got to, man, many of us, we are living testimonies to this. And so I said, okay, I got it. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, that change of scenery definitely is a plus, absolutely, to refresh the mind. So when you think about, the circumstances surrounding what prompted an earlier business trip than originally planned, it's no big deal. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency for healthier living. So now that we've got the movement and all of that, and things that we used to do, how we used to do things on business trips. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to be doing things the same way like that all the time. Just like now when we work, we don't have to do things the same way we used to do them when we were still in North Carolina because our circumstances are different. So, in other words, I don't have to sit here and have like 5 or 6, 7 YouTube videos to record in one day to schedule out for like months in advance. I don't have to do that anymore. So that's a big difference there. But the business trip reset, and when he told me that, I said, oh my gosh, that's so true. He said, yeah, it's just a reintroduction to this is how things are going to roll now, because you don't have to do things quite that way, but you are still going to want to stay busy. I took several of my projects with me, even though I knew it was just a very short business trip. And I said, yeah, I wanted to get certain things done. Now, even though a couple of those projects I didn't get done, I actually got them started. So now back here, I'm continuing to work on them. For example, this is to help y'all put it in perspective. It's all about reset season. It's reset. I had to reorganize. Okay, that's part of it. It's the rejuvenation. Because in the previous unit, I had my vision board up on the wall, like y'all will hear in some other videos when we were there. I said, man, you should see that vision board and just keep growing. Well, the Lord said, I need to get a binder now, because if you have maintenance or whoever else that needs to come in to inspect whatever for whenever, we don't need our visions. Remember, our vision should be between us and God only, right? And so now, binder and just putting like little post-it notes, okay, on the papers here inside. Okay, yeah, inside this binder now. And so that was one of the things. We're still working on it. We've got we've got our new other thing printed out. Like, we do have a daily chores list. We have our social media structure in here now instead of on the wall. See, that really is nobody else's business, right? And then our session times, which, by the way, everybody, real quick, okay? If you have not caught the quick video that I did, that was one of the things we wanted to get done on that short business trip, is to let y'all know about the 30-minute, 1 hour, and 1.5 hour session where you get a percentage off your first session, okay? For example, like BTBW15 gets you 15% off your first 30-minute session. And so now our days and times for session have been updated to reflect those individual consulting and coaching sessions. Since I have discounts available for those 3, I want to make sure we have plenty of those for you all. So when you hop on over to the website and you'll see consulting and coaching session in the navigation drop down menu, you click on that and you'll see what we've got available. Okay, there's a little calendar, right? When it says to book, you'll press that button, a calendar will come up and it'll give you the days and times. So for example, on Sunday, you get 30 minutes from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. You also get a 30-minute from 8 to 8:30 p.m. on Sunday. Okay, so that gives you a couple of 30 minutes. So you can, and if that's your first one, use BTBW 15, and that gets you 15% off. Okay, and so and then for the 1 hour, BTBW 20, you get 20% off your first 1 hour. So for example, on Sunday, we have a 10:45 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. Eastern time, 1 hour. And then we also have a 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. 1 hour. We also have a 3:15 to 4:15 p.m. available. Okay. And then the 1.5 hour BTBW 25, it gets you 25% off. We have a 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern time available on Sunday. And so you'll find those times are pretty consistent throughout the week, Tuesday through Sunday. Okay, we don't do sessions on Monday, but you'll see that there's a good consistency now, with the exception of those days where we have 2 hour sessions, which is only a couple of days. But and that would be Wednesday and Wednesday and Friday from 3:15 to 5:15 p.m. That's a 2 hour. I do not have a discount code for that at this time, but when we do, you'll know. All right, but I just want to give y'all a heads up. But yes, getting a binder, okay, to put your papers. Like I had printer paper and then little Post-its with all my videos. So we're doing a reset. Okay, this is a reset, reorganize. We're putting in here now. Okay, and we're keeping it out so it's easily accessible. And so video effect on the binder, okay, like a mirror effect, kind of. But I just want to give that to y'all. Okay, that's part of the reset. And so that's what we did also. We had to reset session time to reflect the BTBW discount codes we now have available. So that's going to be really, gosh, it's one of the most recent drops that I put out there. It's like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that. And the thumbnail, the title is BTBW discount code for, I think, individual consulting and coaching session. So that's in the title. So I highly encourage y'all to check that out and take the notes, okay? That way you'll know that when you go book your first session with 30, 1 hour, or 1.5, use that code at checkout, okay, to get your discount, all right? And okay, can people extend the session time? For example, they book for a half hour and they want the session to go longer. If they want the session to go longer, they'll need to book another session. Okay, we really have to keep in mind that, 30 minutes is 30 minutes. I know it doesn't seem longer. It doesn't seem like long enough. It can be to establish foundation stuff, but I highly encourage y'all, if you believe you're going to need more than 30 minutes, take a look at the 1 hour and the 1.5, okay, to be on the safe side. Because you never know. If I've got a session, I only allow 15 minutes between available sessions unless I'm live or we got something. So you want to keep that in mind, okay? That fellow, there might have another fellow warrior that booked 15 minutes after we're done. So we have to keep that in mind, okay? But yeah, no. We used to do that here and there, but going forward is kind of like a new boundary where we're just gonna have to be like, no, 30 minutes is 30 minutes, 1 hour is 1 hour, but we have to be considerate to others as well, right? So just take the time to think about how long you think you'll want the session for, all right, before you book. So that way you don't end up, okay, you book for a half hour, but now you want it to go longer all of a sudden. Think about it, okay? And so that's that. But reset season for chosen one, everybody, that's reset. It's part of the rejuvenation process. Okay, we reset, reorganize. Okay, God gives us resets. Not recess. Like go out on the playground. No, it's reset. Okay, being reset, meaning, all right, we're gonna get started. Okay, do-over season, right? And then it's rejuvenation season. And so it's like, okay, so we have to reset some things. So when he told me that was a business trip reset, part of it was a mind shift reset. Like, oh, and then a mindset reset. Mind shift, mindset. Had to go back into the thinking process of, okay, even though we are business minded and we're staying busy, we've been doing an awful lot of self-care, and then some other things have come up. Life happens. But now we're back into that season where it's reset season. And he says, okay, so when you were on business trip before, I need that mindset to come on back. Because I need that mindset to come on back, that you stay busy. You take the projects with you. He said, you got all the bags that you need, and then some. And not only that, what I learned on that business trip also as part of the reset was thinking ahead, getting in position and being ready for the next one, because there were some items that I said, aha, I'm going to need this, and this going forward. So it's like it was teaching me during the reset, all right, I'm going to need some additional things to be in position to be ready for the next one, so that I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off. See, God is a God of order. God is a God of preparation. So you want to remember that when he has us get things sometime in advance, like, okay, so a couple of items, for example, like a blanket, a travel blanket, that's now sitting in my ottoman. Okay, I have a collapsible ottoman, and so I store it right in there. And I said, okay, because I have one for here, okay, but I don't want to have to take this one back and forth. It's just my preference. I could, but I'd rather not. And so, it's like everything in its place organization. Okay, this one's for travel, this one stays home, because we don't want to get, it's kind of like, even though I work from home, I want, it's my way of keeping business and personal separated as much as possible, even though I'm going to take jewelry and other, this right here, my personal space for home. So now I have a blanket that's for business. All right, that goes. It's just my way of doing things. So we're going to get to the questions here in just a moment, but I want to cover a little bit more about the reset, because it's important to understand that we're all going to go through it, and that many of us are going through a reset right now. Think about a store, okay? There's stores that go through what is called a reset. In other words, they change the location of certain items, okay? Let's say they get new item to accompany a certain brand. Now they need more shelf space. And so they do a store reset, okay, which is basically a reorganization of the store layout and where some products will be located or relocated. For example, local Walmart here just did one not too long ago, about a couple of months, if even that. Okay, they had done a major reset. And so some things that used to be in certain places where they were, it got switched, okay, because of additional product being added for a certain brand here or there, or product being taken away. So you think of a store, grocery store, as they do resets. Well, that's what a reset looks like for us as well in our own ministry. Is that, okay, you know what? I've got to reset, like I shared with you at the beginning. My vision board's not on the wall anymore. It's now going to be in a binder. That way it stays between God and myself, between our eyes and for our eyes only. Okay? And so, yeah, we got a snuggle blanket, if you want to call it that, but one for travel and then one to stay home. But that's part of the reset as well, reorganizing, going, okay, we need to keep things in order here. This is for travel. So, for example, the backpack that I have, that is for travel only. That's for business trip. That's for my office stuff. That's for the notebook. That's for the binder. That's for project. That's for all these little notepads. That's for the office type stuff that had to go with on the trip to do the work and continue working on those projects so that I can bring them to you all, even when we're on trips, and to live stream and things like that. And so now, going back to our individual session, it says, do people need to confirm ahead of time what the session will? No, we'll establish what you want to talk about, and what you as the survivor, okay, you as the individual fellow chosen one, whatever it is you need to work on, you're going to let me know, and we'll go from there. And so what they want the session to cover, and no, it doesn't. Well, the session is usually going to cover a trauma trigger. It's going to cover needing help to unpack that bag of talent and gifts. It's going to cover how to deal with, let's just say, a nuisance of sorts in the environment. Maybe how to deal with the narcissist, that kind of thing. Or it's going to do a number of things. Okay, deal with narcissists in any environment. I mean, the list goes on, as long as it aligns with the ministry. So if they book a session, they come and they happen to be, which is not likely, okay, if they are part of the matrix, the big game of narcissism, the P matrix, if they are a member of that, it's not likely they're going to book a session anyway, because we're not going to talk about that. Now, if you are not part of it and that happened to be playing a big role in your traumatization, that's a different story, because that goes a whole different route. All right, so it is whatever you need to focus on that we will be covering in the session. And then people can cancel. They have, I want to say, you've got at least 15 minutes before the session time to cancel the session. And then, yes, if we did not have the session, you do get a refund. That's on the refund policy of the website, you all. That if you cannot make the session and you don't reschedule, you do get a refund. But if we have the session, even if we're 15 minutes into it and you need to finish the other 15 minutes another time, we'll work that out. But you won't get a refund at that point. Okay? So, yeah, when I go on business trip, yes, my equipment goes with me. This PC, yes. And the other devices. Yeah, they go with me on business trips, absolutely, because it's a laptop. So it's small. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space. But you want to remember, okay, so reset. All right, we did a reset on all the session availability. All right. Yeah, it's reset season. So we're going to chat about that amongst other things, you all. You know, the Holy Spirit leads here. And when people got questions, I'm going to make sure I get to those questions. It's how we roll. It's how we roll. All right. If you've got questions, drop them there in the chat. You can drop them in the comments on the replay. I'll get to them as soon as possible. Okay. And legitimate questions about that, as far as sessions and things like that, that not only one may have, but others as well. But I want y'all to understand that when it comes to reset, you know, it's all about not just reorganizing, but in the mind. You know, how you thinking about stuff. How are you thinking about stuff? So another reset that some of us are going through. I know myself in particular, as far as how I'm thinking about the workouts and the, let's just say, I don't really want to call it weight training at this point, but we really are back to the strengthening and toning and all of that. But a lot of it's therapeutic as well. So I'm like, okay, I have to think about some of the things we're experiencing that are not associated with the physical healing from the Jezebel case study or anything else. I do a complete mindset shift because we're back on protein shakes. We are, yeah, we're back on all that. And get back to our preferred workouts and things like that. And so I'm like, I have to do another mindset reset to not misassociate anything I'm experiencing, you know, maybe a little bit of a sore muscle, because we're used to that. When we first start getting into that working out or whatever, we're like, okay, because if it's in a place where there are no bruises, well, then I can't be doing that. I have to, you know, mindset reset. Plus, those bruises are healing. A lot of them are healed. They're pretty much like that brownish yellowish, right? Okay, so that means they're going away. And many of them are almost gone. Completely. So it's like, okay, now I got to do that mindset shift and then be stretching, right? I got to make sure, because we're doing all of that, right? So we got to make sure we're stretching, right? Got to make sure we're doing that stretching, and oh gosh, yeah. And throughout the day too, not just before and after, you know, doing a workout or a walk. Okay. And yeah, no, I've not ever done the full ice bath treatment. And I'm not going to. I prefer to do things in the increments that we're doing them. And so, because of the simple fact that, well, yeah, I'm not, we're not going, it's physically, it's just me in here. So I'm not going to send my body into shock like that. Because I feel like that's what it would do, is if I were to do a complete ice bath, I think it would send my body into shock, and I'm just not going to do that. I'd rather be doing them one at a time, because I'm able to, okay, I see what's going on now. I see what's going on there. Okay, I'd rather do it that way. But tip for resetting the nervous system. Well, okay, to reset the nervous system really is to find a quiet place. Get rid of noise and pestilence as much as possible. And basically everything we're doing to combat radio frequencies for healthier living will help to reset your nervous system. Absolutely. It will help to do that, because you cut out all the unnecessary noise and distraction, and you start, you know, paying attention to the amount of salt and sugars that you're taking in, so that you're not allowing for more mucus to be produced, where that salt and, well, other toxins, the metal, will gravitate towards, which becomes the magnet for the radio frequency, which is going to heat it up, and There you go. So to reset the nervous system, you want to do a lot of the things, refer to those tips and hacks that we've got available on the Patreon channel. We have digital product on our Patreon channel available to help you combat radio frequencies for healthier living, because the tips and hacks for combating radio frequency RF, that's going to help you reset that nervous system. Okay? And remember, it's also a mindset. Remember, our thoughts control our nervous system. Oh gosh, not just the autonomic nervous system, but the central as well. Our thoughts are that powerful. The enemy knows this. Why do you think we're in a spiritual battle for the mind? Okay, because he knows that our thoughts. Okay, so that is a big part right there. It's just really watching the amount of salt, sugars that you take in. Make sure you're eating healthier. Make sure you're staying more active, and then you're staying away from chaos and drama and excess noise, if you will, basically to reset that nervous system and get the rest that you need. It's rejuvenate. Do-over season to rejuvenate and reset in the mind as well, so that you're no longer thinking negative all the time. Remember that, okay? That's part of the reset as well. So we want to continue doing that, but resetting the nervous system really is combating that, because the whole reason why your nervous system would even need a reset is because you've been exposed to too much radio frequencies. Okay? And so, right, because you want to get rid of the muscle tension. That's the other way to reset your nervous system, is to find ways to relax those muscles. If you need a little extra magnesium, if you need to get some muscle relaxing creams or whatever, topical ointments and things. As far as, pay attention. Okay, don't get the one. Now, Arnicare. Okay, Arnicare is a good one for that, for muscle stiffness and soreness, and that's good for massaging. Now, I do not recommend, unless you know you have zero bruising anywhere, I don't recommend a deep tissue massage, but you can go for a massage to also help reset that nervous system and get the tension out of the muscle. But it's also mental, right? Practice telling yourself, relax. Relax. Repetition. Tell yourself, relax. And you'll be amazed. Relax. 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 Reset. Part of resetting is relaxing. Yeah. Okay, so you see people doing the ice bath that it will shock the system. Well, I think it depends on how hot the body is on the internal as to whether or not it would shock the system. Because think about when we go, let's say, it's hot outside, and when we used to go to the beach as kids and stuff like that, we get into the pool or even into the ocean, but think of a pool, a nice cool pool when it's hot outside. Now that's the external temperature. Okay, your body's internal temperature plays a major role as to whether or not it goes into shock when you are exposed to, like, let's say, an ice bath or colder waters or something like that. So cool water is one thing, but if your body's internal heat is too high, then and you get into an ice bath, you can likely send it into a shock. And you don't want to do that. So, and then a reset, if you start to get a little burnout from too much study, the best tip for a reset from that, if you are studying, and you start to feel like you're getting a little bit burnt out with studying, take a break. Find something else to do for a little while. Walk away. It's the same tip that I got growing up when I was learning myself, when I was learning something new, and if I would find myself getting a little bit flustered because I'm getting a little bit burnt out, I remember my biological dad telling me, he said, when you get to that point, he said, walk away for a while. He said, walk away. Clear your mind. Walk away. Find something else to do for a little while. Let your mind rejuvenate. Remember, the reset is all part of the rejuvenation. And so that's the thing. And then too much study, you have to analyze that. So if you feel like you're doing too much study, ask yourself, okay, how can we eliminate some of this? Why is it feeling like it's too much? Because if it feels like it's too much study, it might be. There might be some things there you don't necessarily need to be studying. You know, maybe not aligning why you're feeling a little burnt out. Well, yeah, that's the place. Okay, if you're seeing a little bit on the neck where it joins the collarbone, yes, that's what God revealed to me as well. Yep. And that comes from the neck brace. Okay, that comes from the neck brace. And we're on it. We're taking care of it. Right. Once we become aware of it. And we're taking care of it. Okay? So, yeah. And, right. Okay, well, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, I'm sure not everybody would have noticed that if you hadn't pointed it out. I was trying to keep that on the down low. But it's all good. But we know it there. We're taking care of it. We're on it. And I know that the Jezebels, that's what they want to see. The Jezebels want to see if there's still bruising in places that they would expect it, because it gives the devil the illusion of pain and suffering, when I have to tell y'all we're not in pain and suffering. We're very, very aware. That's why we know we've been in slow-mo here. We're like, we take it easy. Right? I don't care how good we feeling on one day. We still moving it, taking it easy, one day at a time. Because we now know things are starting to surface. That's the Arnica Montana bringing those things to the surface now, so we can see them, or we can do something about them. And yes, and it's not the camera. It's not the camera that's picking up the bruising. It's the LED light. That's what's picking it up. That's how I was able to see them on the business trip, because I had an LED light that I was using in the bathroom. That's how I was able to pick them up. And so it's not the camera, it's the LED light. Remember, LED light. Remember the Patreon video or podcast, whichever one it was, where I talk about how LED lights reveal bruising, even when we don't see it? Well, that's what's happening. The LED lights are revealing it. Yeah, the LED lights. And so you've heard about people, going skinny dipping and then getting severe cramps. Well, that could be for a lot of reasons. Okay, that could be for a lot of reasons. Right, I mean, you don't know what their potassium intake is. You don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, though. It may not necessarily be that the water's cold and their body's internal heat's too hot. Well, I mean, there's a number of things that can go into that one. So, yeah. Yeah, there you go. The LEDs I talk about on the Patreon channel, how the LEDs reveal those things. Okay, the LED lights reveal bruising that we would not otherwise see with the naked eye. So that's why when we go to the store and stuff, I know that's what the enemy is looking at. He was looking at to see if any bruising was still like on the legs or the ankles or what have you. And so the Lord's telling me, like, all right, well, cover that up. He said, cover that up. We don't need the enemy to know what we're doing up in here as far as the self-care. He don't know what we're doing. All he might know is that we bought some things and that we have ice packs, but he has no idea the regimen. He has no idea because we're not telling anybody. I've given y'all some tips, okay? Well, what does the Matrix use? You know I'm going to call it that. Does the Matrix use LEDs to scan for bruising? Honestly, I don't. I've not ever heard of that. I've not heard of them doing that, because most people wouldn't even notice that. Most people would not even be aware that the LED lights would do that. That's just part of our heightened awareness here at CHA, is that LED light, especially on the high frequency. Okay, the low frequencies will reveal them too, but the high frequencies especially, can reveal the bruising in places. And I will tell you that, like I said, what you're seeing, but you got to remember, when the ambulance got there to take me to the big H, or the first things that they do, right? Okay, because it was a so-called fall, what have you. That's the lie that she was telling. Okay, that's the lie that the Jezebel told. We know what happened. But anyway, the first thing they do is to stabilize, right? So they put that neck brace on. Exactly. Like I said, right, like I've said elsewhere, that you got to remember something. What the Jezebel case study did was she tightened my bra in the back as tight as it would go. I normally wear it on the first latch. She put it on the third. That was deliberate to stop as much circulation from taking place from the brain through the body. So with that being in play, by the time they get there to put the neck brace on, well, go figure. Places where the neck brace, that's where you see a little bruising. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Of course she called for the ambulance. She had to. Of course. And of course she waited until the date rape drug was well out of my system, that's for sure. Because that's what they do. That's what they do. When they spike drink, that's what they do. These evildoers, when they spike a person's drink, they will wait because they know darn well that, right, it eliminates really quick. It's like it almost evaporates. But after their target is unconscious, you know, and I remember the Women's Crisis Center years ago telling me, yeah, that stuff, in order to be able to detect, and when I got my master's in my toxicology program, forensic toxicology, I learned all about that, yeah, the process of elimination for GHB, oh my gosh, it is fast, almost lightning fast. So you literally would have to give it to a person and then boom, be right there to draw some blood in order to catch that in the system. I mean, that's how fast it goes. It's like boom and then gone. It's crazy, but that's it. And so, you know, with that being said, we know what's up. And, you know, God, listen, God is an awesome God. And so when he tells us it's reset season, that's exactly what he means, reset. Just got to do some rethinking, got to do some reorganizing, got to do some, you know, it's all part of the rejuvenation process. But reset, you know, reset. It's not that you're starting over. It's not that you're having to, like, you're not, remember, you're not starting from scratch, okay? You're going on experience now. You're like, okay, hold up a second. Not only do you have personal experience and then the education about narcissism and how evil it is, and that we are dealing with real evil, and the narcissists are the pure evil that walk amongst us. So when you realize that, and you're like, okay, and then now you like to get your life together to get into your purpose and do what it is that God has called you to do, and not be distracted by all of that chaos and drama inside the matrix, to stay on that narrow path. Yes, Jesus, okay, Jesus is the narrow path. But I also tell y'all that your purpose is your narrow path. Yeah, because it's for you to serve. So why it's so hard to prove drug use? Not really. It's not hard. That depends on the drug. It's not hard to prove drug use. Okay, it depends on the drug. I would tell you that, because what we call the half-life of a toxic substance, it varies depending on the substance. So, like, well, when you have marijuana, it will stay in the system for if I'm remembering correctly, if you're a frequent user, it can remain in the system for at least 3 weeks, if not longer, depending on the use. And then you have to think about, depending on if it's mixed with anything. So you have that as well. And then you do have other drugs. You have a lot of substances that cross the blood-brain barrier really fast. And date rape drugs are that. Okay, date rape drugs like GHB do that. They cross the BBB real quick. And just like aluminum, your metal salts, a lot of them do. So, yeah, and well, it can. Depends on the physical activity, your metabolism. Okay, there's so many things that go into that. So many things. Your metabolism depends on a lot of things when it comes to toxic substances, whether, drugs and then other stuff, unbeknownst to us, like that excess salt, things like that. And part of the reset in the season, you all, for a lot of us, the reset included detoxing. You're resetting your body's metabolism. You're resetting some biological processes on reset. Think about that button in the bathroom. But you've got the hair dryer plugged in, right? And then you've also got, let's say, a curling iron plugged in. Okay, well, all of a sudden, that little reset button that's in the middle there, right? Every once in a while, we got to press that, don't we? Sometimes. I know I did the other day, all right, when I was unplugging a lamp. And the fan that's in there, I accidentally grabbed some of it. And so when I did that, I ended up pressing the other button. And then all of a sudden the fan stopped working. I said, oh, now I had to hit the reset button. I had to hit the reset button now to get the fan going again. So same thing, you all. Same concept there. When God says it's reset season, there's a lot of things being reset. So when you're detoxing, you're resetting a whole lot of things. Your metabolism, your body's biological processes are getting a reset. And during the reset, guess what that means? It's a revamp. God needs to get us ready. So we got to go through the reset. We go through a do-over season to the rejuvenation process, right? Resting and relaxing, and then resetting, reorganizing, and that mindset shift, right? Oh, yeah, that reset's a different mindset. So like, okay, and then all of that is to level up, to revamp, right? Because as you're detoxing, you're doing what? You're cleaning your body of all the toxins. So you're going to revamp, right? It's like revitalize. Okay, you're going to revitalize that body. And you're going to get all your natural energy back. We have our spiritual energy. That isn't the issue. We're talking about physical energy, right? Yeah, we'll get all that back and then some. Remember, God said when he restored, he's going to do it 100-fold. Y'all got to remember that. No matter what the devil tries to do. Okay, God's going to restore, and he's going to restore 100-fold. He's a promise keeper. Because I'm going to tell you, every single time the enemy tries to interfere with my circulation, and I know y'all can relate, whenever he tries to, God's like, oh, watch this. And it just restores even quicker. I can feel it. I'm like, okay, that didn't last long. Right? What the enemy tries to do, his time is always short. Enemy tries to electrocute you, it ain't going to last when you're on the detox journey. All right? God's like, oh, devil tried that again? Okay, fine. Watch this. And God just hastens it each and every time. It just gets quicker and quicker and quicker. You got to remember that. Right? It's all part of the reset. So that's how I think of it. I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm still going, as I'm going through the detox, right? And so the devil going to try to slow that down. And he's like, oh, okay, so he's going to try to interrupt my body's circulation. Well, I can tell when he's doing that. Oh, I can feel it. And I'm, oh, no, you don't. And God's like, yeah, that's right. He's like, take a hike. Right? I was like, rebuke in the name of Jesus. Right? And resist the devil. He has to flee. And so then I'm like, okay, fine. So I go walking the other way. I'm like, walk it out. And I can feel God restoring it. Like, boom, 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 boom. Maybe right back to where it needs to be. And then some. I want y'all to understand that. Okay? And so, yeah. And that's God hitting the reset every single time. I'm like, See, the enemy don't realize that he screws up when he tries to mess with God's chosen one. He screws up every single time. Just like, oh, you thought you were going to set me back by a quick move from one unit to another one. But no, basically all that did was, right, it just set me up for a better comeback. Because we went on a business trip and we got to reset. And we learned it's reset season. And we learned all about that. We continue to learn about resetting. Reset this. Okay? It's not starting over. Okay, from the very beginning, it's a reset. It's a reset. Just reset. Reorganize. Decluttering is a big part of reorganizing, y'all. Declutter. So for anyone who needs that one, there you go. Like, you've got a little too much going on. If it's no longer serving a purpose in the kingdom, for example, listen, you all, we used to be on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is a community app that allows you to stay in contact or whatever with neighbors, immediate neighbors. Well, let's just say for a time, when I first got on that network, it's already served its purpose. So it was past its expiration date. And so we have since gotten rid of the business page on Nextdoor, and we are no longer on Nextdoor, period. We have deactivated all accounts on Nextdoor. We're done because I got tired of pulling it up and seeing all these neighbors who still playing the game of narcissism. Who can I complain to about this? I'm like, oh my gosh, you got the demon of complaining. And I don't have time anymore be looking at that stuff. And not only that, every single time I pulled up anything from Nextdoor, the first thing that pops up is how the Matrix continues to prepare for the apocalypse that's never going to happen. So keeping everybody living in fear and all that. And I was like, you know what? This Nextdoor thingy, it served its purpose. It's past its expiration date. It's time to go. So you will find an updated My Social page. I highly encourage y'all to go check it out. Check it out. It's on the website. That link is listed below. We have a new banner, okay, a new photo up. That's right. We have a new photo, and it doesn't include Nextdoor. But we also took off the Google Business and Amazon photo. But we do have the links to our Amazon author page and the Google Business page listed on My Social. You'll see. We cleaned it up. And you'll see all the links to the social. Now, Quora, we have Quora, my profile, and then 2 Quora spaces. We're still on Telegram. Here and there, we pop on over. And every once in a while, we're still getting back on track one day at a time. It's all part of the reset season. Okay, it's all part of the reset. He had me reset my social media strategy. You see? So all kinds of things like that. Reset. All right, let's reset all of this. Basically, the reset gets us in better position. Okay? So the half-life the half-life of a substance. Okay, when you talk about toxicology, the half-life, no, it's not going to vary depending on any of those. The half-life of a drug is the half-life of a drug. Now, the only thing that might vary is the amount. But their duration of effect and the half-life are the same. But the only thing, the half-life, it should remain the same per however much, but it could vary if you got to think about overdoses versus just too much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, too much could lead to an overdose, but that's that. Okay, so you don't have the reset button in your electrical outlets, if you will. Okay. And you don't have appliances in the bathroom. That's interesting. Okay. But yeah, we do. You have your 2 plugs, and then there's that reset in the middle here. And I don't know about anywhere else, but wow, that's interesting. So in the UK, you don't have that. Interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to give y'all that visual of a reset. You know, because everything that God has us do for resetting in the reset season for chosen ones is that reorganizing, getting in better position, decluttering. So when I left to go on my business trip, it gave me the opportunity now in this new unit to go, okay, we want to get better organized here than we were in the other one. Why not, right? Always room for improvement. So the blessing in disguise from getting out of the old unit into the newer one is that, okay, this gives me a chance, gives me a do-over. So to rejuvenate, rest, and relax, and then now to reset, reorganize, which is now, okay, what's going to go on the wall versus what now goes in a binder, right? So we don't have it open. Now I've got my Bible verse board back on the wall, and that's going to continue, you know. But as far as everything else, pretty much keep it in that binder and away from prying eyes, because you never know, right? That's true. Okay, you see them in the U.S. plugs for and bathroom and Canada. They have plugs. Okay. Well, see, I guess it just depends on where you live as far as whether or not you're going to have one of those. But yeah. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. So there you go, everybody. I just wanted to get on here and give y'all that, okay, about reset. And then, of course, you know how the Holy Spirit is. We have a little chat going, and I want to make sure I answer your own questions and things like that. Don't want to leave anybody hanging and stuff like that. So even if you leave comments and questions on the replay, all right, I'll get to those as soon as I see them. And I do thank you all once again for your patience, because sometimes I don't get y'all comment until I go into the actual studio app, because I don't always get the notification. I don't know. I have notifications turned on for YouTube, but I don't always get the notifs for whatever reason. And that's why I think some of y'all might not get the notice when we go live. I don't know. Okay, so you have safety laws in the UK that don't allow for appliances in the bathroom for risk of electric shock with water. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Right, okay. Well, we do live in a matrix that's full of, well, remember, safety is in the Lord. That's all I'm going to say on that. Safety is in the Lord. Okay? Yeah, Jesus is safety. Because we get that awareness. Right? But I understand if you've got kids running around, you never know. Kids will be kids, right? So, yeah, we live in a matrix that has to have safety laws. I know. And you know why we have them, because apparently somebody did that. I'll never forget. I have thought that my entire life. Every time I see something like on a plastic bag that tells you do not put bag over your head, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, they really have to tell you not to do that. Because apparently some people have done that. I don't know. Or it could be a subtle trick of the enemy to see who will actually do it, even though it tells you not to. I don't know. But either way, I always found that to be really intriguing. You know, some of the things that we have to be told as far as safety, if you will. I'm like, common sense. Like, really? But we know that, well, a lot of you narcissists, they don't have they don't have common sense like that. Nope. They do not. And, yeah, or, gosh, you name it. You name it. They said, do not this or do not that with whatever appliance or, I don't know, item. It cracks me up sometimes. It does. It cracks me up. But, again, somebody must have done it, or we wouldn't have that rule or that warning. Right, okay, so the wall sockets have switches. Okay, well, that's typical to turn on the lights and stuff, right? Okay. You can see that. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you gotta have some way to you gotta have some way to turn the lights on and off, right? Okay, if they were to drop the hairdryer in the bath, game over. Okay. But I can't imagine. Well, my question is, why would you be trying to dry your hair in the bathtub anyway? I mean, why would you even have a hairdryer in the tub with you in the first place? That doesn't make sense, does it? Why? If you're sitting there taking a bath, you have no reason to be needing to dry your hair at that particular moment. It's just something to think about. Because the hairdryer should be nowhere near a bathtub. That's the point. Well, the law of trying to control adults. Well, right. But I mean, think about that. You're taking a bath. Any kind of appliance should not be anywhere near it. In the first place, really shouldn't. I know a lot of people would take their, right, they have their smartphones with them in the bath. Why? So, well, I mean, I know there's a ton of reasons why, but seriously, if you're taking a bath, like a shower or whatever, you have no need for a hair dryer, curling iron, or any of those to even be anywhere near the tub. You shouldn't. That makes sense. Okay, a razor plug would be really helpful. Well, that's what they make portable mirrors for. There's your solution to that. Buy a portable mirror, or a mirror that you can take into a different room where there is a razor plug. But I got you. I feel you. But they also make disposable razors. I know that that's not necessarily the choice when you are a male that grooms in certain areas. So, well, common sense to keep electricals away from water. Yeah, you would think. But I also have my theory. I mean, I look at the kitchen sink and I go, okay, well, my coffee pot's sitting there. And of course, it's not going to be dunked into the water, but water from the sink, when I'm washing, does kind of splash over there, but it's not at the socket or the cord, if you will. However, I don't even think about stuff like that. But when it comes up in the and more part of the topic there, I'm like, okay, yeah, but when it comes to a bath, I don't see it being necessary to even have that stuff in there. So, but right, common sense to keep that stuff away from the water like that. But then I think about power lines outside when it rains. I'm throwing this stuff out there for y'all to think outside the box. They have us. The Matrix and everybody has us. They want us to live in fear about appliances and water inside the home. Now, I'm not saying go do that. No, don't. Please be common sense. But they want you to live in fear of everything in your own home. But then, well, okay, you have exposed power lines out here with these LED lights and stuff like that, and it rains. Those power lines are getting wet all the time. And what about the cell towers when it rains? Those cell towers are getting wet all the time, but you don't see no going on with the cell towers now, do you? I'm just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there. Okay, the light cable one could feel your hand clamp around the cable. Okay, see that? Oh, well, okay. All right. So I'm not saying that it is impossible, but I am wondering about outside. I mean, what is it that they do with the wires and stuff outside that wouldn't do that necessarily? Because you have power trucks that get up there and are restoring the power in the pouring rain. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there. All right, because a lot of times when you have to, when you well, when you're dealing with electronics, a lot of times you do have to reset them if they go wonky or what have you. Right? So there you go. Okay, they put the installation cable around power line and grounding lines. Okay, so that would be a little bit of a difference. Okay, a little bit of a difference. Okay, I got you. Well, thank you for enlightening me about that. But I was like, okay, well, you're gonna do that there, then why not in the house? Oh, that's right. They need you to be afraid of your house. That's right. They need you to live in fear of your own home. Go figure. And then, yeah, your computer needs a restart every once in a while. So just like we do. So we get a reset. And so the computer gets a restart. Same thing, a reset. All right, everybody. So there you go. Let's just chat for today. I thank you again, everybody, for joining us. All right. So again, check out the link in the description below. I highly encourage y'all hop on over to the website, check out the updated My Social page. You'll see CHA's social media link in the description below. We have done some updates. Again, we are no longer on Nextdoor, period. So we've taken that out. It has served its purpose. The season for that is done. It's over. So we have updated, and yes, and another good night's rest for a reset. There you go. There you go. Right there. All right, everybody. So there you go. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. And don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. If you leave those on the replay in the comments, I'll get to those as soon as I see them. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.